By world standards, Melbourne is a new city, young in history. Its spread has already encompassed an area as great as that of London, though its beginning was only yesterday. Melbourne was planned as a standard colonial grid of streets, broad and straight. Between the streets, the land was sold. Today, the population of the Melbourne metropolitan area is more than 2 million. The stone and steel and concrete of the city speak to us with 1,000 voices. The whispers of our early history, the echo of an age just past. The story of Melbourne today is being recorded for posterity loud and clear. The softest songs, those most treasured and longest remembered, come from people's homes. Home. The special place of every citizen in any city. Home. It can be almost any size or shape. The old, the new, conventional in design, or a striking departure. Home means love and security. In this suburban home, which is representative of many thousands of privately built homes in Melbourne, a young Australian mother gives her children the love and care every child must have to be happy, healthy, and well balanced. The pleasant atmosphere of their home inspires a sense of contentment and security. But not all children are so fortunate. There are many to whom the benefits of an adequate home background are denied. Children who are now growing up in Melbourne's inner suburban slum areas. Between 1954 and 1963, Melbourne's population increased by 1/4. Though thousands of new houses were built in outer suburbs, the inner suburbs are still home for some 50,000 people. In the inner metropolitan areas, there are now approximately 1,000 acres of run-down and depressed houses. And inevitably, without effective counteraction, the growth of slums in a large city is continuous. In 1938, The Victorian State Housing Commission was established by an Act of Parliament to improve existing housing conditions and provide adequate and suitable accommodation to persons of limited means. In recent years, the Housing Commission's activities have been chiefly directed to the clearance of slum dwellings in the inner city areas. When a substandard house is marked for demolition, the occupier, whether a tenant or an owner, is eligible to become a tenant of the Housing Commission. Compensation paid to owners with respect to properties acquired by the Commission is based on current values determined by independent valuers. A special scheme has been instituted in the case of aged and invalid owners. Compensation money is paid to the public trustee to be held in trust for them, the interest accruing being paid to the Housing Commission in lieu of rent. The achievements of the Commission have been consistent with world standards in metropolitan housing developments. Their policy of research and inquiry into every aspect of building, both in Australia and abroad, will continue to keep Melbourne's low rental housing up to international standard. Whether large or small, a building is in fact a complex of many trades and skills. The coordination of these facets of the building industry engaged in the construction of Housing Commission estates in Victoria is the responsibility of the Commission's technical officers. The walls and floors that form the basis for new flats built by the Housing Commission are made in prefabricated concrete sections, whole walls and floors being poured and set at the concrete house project at Holmes Glen. These walls, on their way to Housing Commission estates in the inner suburbs, will become new windows on the world. Through these windows, those who've moved up from depressed areas will look out to happier prospects, wider horizons. By using elevator and walk-up multi-story buildings, it's possible to achieve up to 50 dwellings for every acre. And even with this maximum economic use of space, 80% of the site is left free as open space for playgrounds. The families in the homes of Melbourne's Housing Commission estates enjoy a high standard of living, one that's very little different from the standard of our privately built homes. They have much the same amenities and advantages. Here, too, children can grow up in an atmosphere of love and security. The Commission has built over 7,000 flats offering 1, 2, or 3-bedroom accommodation. The materials used in the construction and finishing of Housing Commission homes and flats are specified after extensive comparison and testing to determine their quality and performance under a variety of conditions. Paint with a high mold resistance has been developed at the laboratories of the concrete house project. Housing Commission flats are well provided with amenities. A generous amount of cupboard space, a feature of every Commission flat. Floors are tiled so that no floor coverings are needed. All these basic advantages with spacious planning and living areas designed for the needs of the Australian family are built into Housing Commission units by skilled craftsmen, many of whom are newcomers to this country, all working to exacting standards. How is a vast scheme of reclamation financed? How much does it cost to make way for the new? The average cost is £50,000 per acre. This means that with the limited amount of finance available, the Housing Commission can afford to clear only a small number of acres each year. At this rate of progress, it will be many years before the substandard areas that exist today are cleared and reclaimed, to say nothing of the additional homes that year by year will become unfit for habitation. A long-term future for places like these, it's obviously out of the question, when areas such as these have been obsolete, a human and economic wasteland for so many years already. It's imperative to build more homes and build them faster. The maximum rent charged for a 3-bedroom flat is 5 guineas per week. While preoccupied in the practical sense with the mechanics and materials of building, the Housing Commission of Victoria is concerned primarily with people. In 1959, the Housing Commission's first high-rise development, the Emerald Hill Court Estate, was built in South Melbourne. 16 stories high, it comprises a total of 120 dwelling units. Holland Estate in Kensington, consisting of 136 2- and 3-bedroom flats in 2 8-story high blocks, is accessible from 2 bridges, each 70 feet in length, which extend from an adjoining embankment. Reeves Street, Carlton, is the 4th high-rise block. Debney's estate in Flemington rises on the site of Debney's Paddock. It was the 3rd high-rise block of flats built by the Housing Commission. Hotham Estate was erected in what had been a slum pocket area of North Melbourne, an area that was condemned in the now famous 1937 report on slum reclamation and housing for the lower paid worker. Hotham Estate consists of 168 2- and 3-bedroom flats.
The government believes that everybody, regardless of age, income or occupation, is entitled to a good standard of housing. Spectacular progress has been made in the field of slum reclamation over recent years. Indeed, over the last decade, some 200 acres of substandard housing have been tackled by the Housing Commission. 110 of these acres have been redeveloped in this manner, a manner which has earned the praise of visitors from interstate and overseas. It must not be forgotten, however, that 800 acres of substandard housing still remain. Increased effort, rather than complacency, is therefore required. The task ahead of us presents a challenge which can only be met successfully by the combined efforts of the government, local councils, and private enterprise, based upon the enthusiastic support of all public-spirited citizens like yourselves.
The Housing Commission has made it possible for thousands of Victorians who previously lived in substandard areas to have a new lease of life. A right that must be extended to many thousands still forced to live in depressed conditions. But the pace of future development is in direct proportion to the practical support of organizations which have the welfare of the community at heart. Those who recognize the work of the Housing Commission of Victoria as a means to create a new way of life for thousands of our citizens. It'll be a proud moment indeed when our city speaks with one voice of concern and consideration for the welfare of all its citizens.